Well, welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, Lolafels and Mikotis. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Welcome to Between Two Sprouts, the best place to be in Eorzea. Isn't that sweet, Russ?
Best place to be in Eorzea. Guess who came up with that one?
I think chat, probably, right? Was it you?
It was actually me, yeah.
Oh.
It was straight off the top of my head. As soon as you said Between Two Sprouts, my not sex cult brain went, best place to be.
Best place to be, baby. Best place to be. And we are here. We are in-game. Yeah. We have a lovely live audience. We are going to do a Q&A later towards the end of the sort of show. But starting things off, I guess we should sort of, because there are going to be many people who haven't been watching the rest of our content that we've been doing on YouTube and stuff like that and on Twitch and stuff. So we are both World of Warcraft streamers and players. We've both been playing for a very, very long time in WoW and making content and stuff for that. But within the last, I mean, I've been playing FF now for 5 weeks. You've been playing for 3 weeks, right, Russ? So we've jumped over to FF. And we're trying the game out, seeing how it's going, and we're streaming it, making content on it and everything. So we are coming from a heavily WoW-based background. But Russ, for you, I mean, what has been the main driving force for you wanting to jump into FF? Like, why now? Why are you doing it now? Why are you here?
Well, to cut a seemingly long story short, pretty much, you are the actual pivoting point. Woof. Yeah, I know. Give him that ego boost.
Sam.
Psy is the actual reason that pushed me over the edge, but the lead up to me switching was really I just have been streaming WoW for such a long time, and I still enjoy the game, I still love the game, but I just feel like over the years it's really beat me down. In game, just to do with the game, but also with streaming especially. And I was just looking for a change. The past couple months I tried switching to League of Legends because I wasn't really enjoying streaming WoW. I felt like, I've always been like a community streamer. I used to do viewer raids, I would carry people in dungeons, I'd help people get mounts and stuff, and I'd do all that through the group finder in WoW. And then Blizzard started kind of cracking down on anyone who was advertising their stream.
Oh yeah, you've been banned a couple times, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been banned like 2 or 3 times now. And it's quite annoying, especially as someone who's got connections at Blizzard as well, and they're straight up just banning me for trying to play the game the way I want with community and build a community, which is supposedly the spirit of an MMO. And trying to connect with people cross server is really hard because WoW's split into servers. You need that group finder to just interact with people cross servers.
Yeah.
So when they started banning me, I basically was scared to play the game how I wanted to and stream the game how I wanted to, and basically felt almost forced to start playing Mythic Plus, and I just felt like that's not the content that I want to stream. And then Mythic Raids, don't feel like that's the content I want to stream too much either, at least not exclusively. So I was looking for a change, and I kind of tried out League. It wasn't really for me, and I know that Jordan was trying to get you. Jordan was, talking to me about trying to trying Final Fantasy. Nefsy was telling me to try it. Miss Avantasia was telling me to try it, and then you started whispering in my ear about it as well, because Jordan whispered in yours. And then I remember we played a game of League on my stream, and after the stream you called me and you were like, "Yo, seriously though, try Final Fantasy," and I was like, Fine, I'll try it. And I set a date, and you, I don't know, everyone, just word of mouth, everyone started being like, new streamers to you and I, and then we ended up
vampires feasting. Yeah,
we were vampires feasting, and the rest is history. It's really been so warm, welcoming, and everything really. I made a video on it the other day, my true thoughts, but these are true thoughts, but the long addition to this, and just how I feel like it's changed my life already in such a short space of time. I feel like a more positive person and stuff. So that's kind of my story. But
well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for the show this evening. Russ just took up the whole time slot for the podcast with that one. So that was a nice introductory question That took about 40
short
minutes.
version.
That was the short version. No, yeah, if people do want the longer version after you check out the show, it is on Russ's YouTube where he kind of explains, you know, further detail and everything and how it's changed his life and everything and all that nice stuff. But yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, there's a few things obviously that you touched on that I had a very similar kind of thing. The reason why I'm playing Final Fantasy now is I've actually, so my friend CC Lemon, who's also a moderator, him and a few other of my IRL friends, they've been playing Final Fantasy for years. And for me, they've always kind of been in Discord and Discord streaming it or something and be like, oh, check out this boss, check out this thing, check out this, like, samurai, look at how it plays and stuff. And I've always been like, yeah, you know, it looks kind of cool. Oh, I don't know, like, the game looks kind of like, my eyes aren't accustomed to how the game looks. I'm not, you know, all this flashy visuals, I don't know. And I never really properly, like, looked at it with clarity. But then there was the mass exodus of, like, WoW players to FF. This was with Preach and Asmon and stuff like that. And Final Fantasy started to get a lot more kind of showtime and in the public eye. And so I took a look into it, and I took a little interest, and I thought, oh, this, you know, this looks pretty good. And I gave it a good little look, and I thought, that looks really cool. I love the community rallying around people coming through and playing the MSQ. That looks like a really fun way to experience the game. But I was like, I'm not ready yet, though. I'm not ready yet. So I shelved it for about a year. But there's about a year where I was like, I really do want to do it at some point. But then Dragonflight came out. You know, things were looking kind of good for me at the end of Shadowlands. And then Dragonflight came out. And Dragonflight Season 1 was really good. Obviously, World of Warcraft is what I'm talking about there. So there wasn't really the right time to do it. But then Season 2 has come out. And I've sort of been like, oh, I'm not really gelling with Season 2. It's probably been one of the worst seasons for me personally. Actually, it's just been the worst season for me, period. So, for a lot of reasons. Personal reasons as well as in-game reasons and stream reasons, stuff like that. So I just not had a good time with it, and I just felt very much behind. And then I went, hold on a minute, like, let me just go try Final Fantasy now. Now's a really good time. WoW Season 2 is struggling. I know how this is going to go. Let me go jump into FF and try it out. And now's a really good time to try it. And, you know, and there were, like, I really wanted to do it for the right reasons, you know, like 6 months, 8 months ago, something like that, a year ago, Preach, like, spoke to me, I saw him at an event, and he was like, oh, I didn't know you're interested in doing, like, Final Fantasy, oh, like, you know, give me a heads up, and I'll try and, like, host you, or try and, like, you know, whatever he said at the time, he said something basically, I'll try and, like, support you in some way, like, and I was like, never expected, I didn't ask him for it, but he was just very, like, supportive of it. And I mean, you know, he's even invited us to go up and see his office when it's all fixed up and everything. So like, just super lovely guy. And I've been to PreachCons and stuff, and love hanging out with the man and all of his community. But I didn't want to just be like, oh my god, yeah, like Preach is gonna hook me up. All right, that's it, and just like kind of get this free like boost. I was like, no, I want to do it properly. I want to do it because I want to do it, and I want to earn it, and I want to do it for the right reasons. I don't want to just do it for anything silly. So I was like, no, let's do it when I'm actually ready to do it. So that's why it's taken me until now to finally jump into FF, is kind of multifaceted reasons. But I feel like I'm finally just ready to try out another experience and another MMO. And I knew how welcoming the FF community were and how they've been with multiple other people new coming to the game. And like you say, OK Mage and stuff like that, and how they welcome Preach and various others. You guys love Asmongold as well, right? So you guys welcome Asmongold, all those types of people. So, so it's been really nice. But for you then, like, did you have any preconceptions coming into the game? Like, what did you anticipate? Were you expecting to be super attached to any particular part of the game, or anything you were not super interested in, like wary of, anything like that? Any preconceptions?
So I'll come clean. I did actually play it like 2 years ago, but for like, I think I played like 2, 3, 4 hours, something like that, right? And I went into it with, I think, like the wrong mindset.
Take his sprout hat off in chat. Get it gone.
I went into it with like the WoW player mindset. You hear it. I think Preach mentioned it in his video recently about how not to play MMOs, right? Where he talked about during that mass exodus like 2 years ago, where Preach came over, Asmongold came over and stuff. A lot of WoW players also tried it out. You know, just people who aren't streamers. And Preach said like a lot of his friends and guildies, they just went in with it and were like, okay, well, I'll buy the boost, and I'll skip all the story. And then it's like, okay, well, how do I gear up? Because like, we're just like trained to do that as WoW players. It's like, how do I min-max everything? Like, it's always like rush to the end game. you know, the story, it comes up in a way, like here it comes up in like a dialogue box and you're almost incentivized to read it, like you're pushed in that direction. Whereas in WoW, it's like, it's just a box and you press accept. Like no one, well, barely anyone probably reads the quest text and stuff. So
yeah,
you're very much like rushed into the end game. And I think if you come in with that mindset, you know, and you can't really, you know, say the, like they're trained to do it, right? So they're not doing it intentionally, skipping the story. They're just, that's like second nature to them. So they'll rush through, sometimes by the skip, sometimes they'll just skip the quests and the cutscenes and whatnot to get to max. And they're only really interested in the end game because that's all WoW. I mean, it's not all WoW has to offer, but you know, it's for the majority of what is played in WoW. So people like rushed through, get the gear and stuff. So yeah, I came in with that kind of mindset where I was just like, oh, it's like a different version of WoW, and I tried to just like speedrun everything. I didn't get attached to anything. I didn't really explore. I didn't really read the quests. I just kind of was like, it's okay. Like the graphics are alright. I wasn't like, basically the only thing I really did feel was like the combat, and I don't think the early combat is particularly mind-blowing. So like it definitely gets better as you get through levels, but I don't think I ever got to a level where I had a decent chunk of abilities. So I just was like, oh, like it's a super slow version of WoW with no abilities, and then I just kind of quit. So I came in with the wrong mindset. But this time around, I dropped my expectations to like completely zero. Went in with a super open mind and was just like, I'm just gonna experience the game basically as if I hadn't ever played a game before, and I was like a kid in a candy store kind of thing. And so far that's been doing wonders for me. You know, people say I'm stalling and stuff like that, but I'm just exploring and enjoying it for what it is and has to offer. So I'm super, like, I think now, having done it this way, I'll try and take that mindset to like any other games I play as well. Like, I feel like it's a completely different way to play games to what I'm used to, and I really enjoying it so far. Like so many, like actually turning every stone and seeing what's underneath rather than just, you know, running directly down that path of lights, which is kind of like lighting the runway, and you just push towards, like, usually.
The good thing for you as well is I'm like 2 weeks ahead of you, so you can see what content I do and then steal any good ideas and throw away any bad ones. So it's like really, it's like you're in the sweet spot. You know? Yeah, like, oh, so I did that and everybody hated it.
I did that and it was terrible.
All right, we'll skip that one. So it's perfect. Little do they know that I'm gonna now stall until you now slingshot past me, and then that's where I'm then gonna copy you. So we got it all figured out. We'll take turns. Yeah, I absolutely know what you mean. Like when you come into FF, and for the longest time I was very similar, where my preconceptions about the game were a bit like, I've heard the combat's slow, I've heard A Realm Reborn is really slow, and the story isn't that great, and it takes a long time to get into, and you know, things get better, and they just keep saying that.
Wait till Realm Reborn's done.
Yeah, and they just say like, just get through it. But I've actually been so incredibly blown away by like how not like that it is.
Yeah, I was expecting so much worse. I was led to believe it was like, I'm gonna have to grit my teeth through.
Yeah, I thought I'm gonna have to fake it
like
through like 60 hours of content. Yeah. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to just like bear through. Like everyone says it's not very good ARR, like the storytelling's not great and stuff, and like, oh man, okay, like let's just see what we can do. And I was like, and I was coming into it, and I was saying to CC Lemon, my mod, and I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna have to do any like role play stuff or anything like that. Like I'm not gonna have to go and do all this like random like, I don't know, these random like parties and stuff. Because I remember seeing like the preach party one time, and I was like, oh, that looks like funny, but like, oh, I never want to do that. Like, oh no, I don't want to. I'm not interested in any of that. Like, I'm quite like awkward, so I don't like putting myself in like awkward situations because I just think like, oh, that's not going to be very comfortable. But then I've come into the game, and I mean, you guys can go check out on my YouTube as well the house party video. Genuinely, I think it's a funny video.
Yeah.
Like, I got into it, man. I went to my first house party, and I got super into it. I thought it was awesome. The Realm Reborn, the MSQ has actually been really cool, mainly because I've been trying to cook up, like, early on. And I think it was kind of nice that people warned me that A Realm Reborn wasn't going to be great for the story, because it made me pay attention. And it made me, like, okay, I've not been taking notes, like, on a notepad, but I've been very much tracking the characters and tracking the story. And obviously I won't say too much because I need to actually identify where you're at in the story before we get too much into that, which we will. But I was so surprised with how much I've been enjoying the MSQ, and then everyone was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, maybe you enjoyed ARR, but the post-patch quests are really bad." And then I did 2.1, and I was like, "Yo, this is so cool! Like, this is so good." And I'm like, "When does this get bad?" And people have explained, like, it's not that ARR is bad; it's just that it gets better. But like for me, I've just really enjoyed it all so far. And then the combat as well, like I'm playing Samurai and Summoner at level 50 like coils and in some of the dungeons, and I actually really like it. It's simplistic enough for like where I'm at in the game, but advanced enough where I feel like I can min-max my positioning and my buff up times and my dots and like multi-dotting mobs. And yeah, so I'm like actually really, like all of my preconceptions have been blown away, and I'm getting involved in every element, like you say, leaving no stone unturned, and it's been really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's nice to explore like horizontally as you go, and like figure out just everything, like and just not rush through it really. But as well, what you said about I'm mind blanked, but just go on. I will come back.
Yeah, no, it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah.
So what then? You know, we will get further into like the nitty gritty of kind of like Final Fantasy and everything, and like what we've been getting up to so far and how we've been finding it. But what is your sort of history with WoW then? Like, what do you want people to know about where you've been at with WoW? Oh, I need to pause my. Oh. Bro, I'm gonna have to clip this out of the episode, but thanks. You know what? No one subbed to me, okay? Because I can't deal with this right now. Sorry, I got a sub and it's Gromnak yelling in my ear. Thank you, Glorian. Appreciate that.
Oh, clip all that bit out. Cut all that bit out because I remembered my point I was gonna say.
So perfect. Yeah, go for it. Like, send it.
Cut that segment. I was gonna say maybe it's like a ploy by the community to really lower everyone's expectations. Maybe it's like a tactic to just preach that ARR's bad, so everyone new who plays, all the new sprouts are just expecting the worst, and then they're like pleasantly surprised because it's a different emotional response, right? Like, oh, I'm pleasantly surprised, rather than like, oh, I feel a bit let down by the story or something like that. I actually don't think the story's been bad. Like, it's world building, right? It's character building. You're learning about the beast tribes. You're learning about the primals and stuff like that. Like, for me so far, it's felt like a season 1 of a TV show. You know, that's got more seasons to go, and you know, I'm only like what level 29, 30 MSQ, something like that. So
yeah, something that I've noticed as well is that I've had a lot of people come into my chat and say like, oh, I tried Final Fantasy one time like a couple years ago, didn't really get into it, didn't really like it, and then you know, I quit and it just wasn't for me. And I think it was specifically because of that mindset that a lot of people come into. They come in with a different MMO brain, and they think that it's going to play out like that MMO. And it doesn't have to be WoW, it could be any other MMO. And they come into it thinking it's going to be that mindset, and it just really isn't that. So they have to, it's like a fine wine, you know? It's like a Bacchus. You have to let it, you won't understand that reference, but that's okay, Russ. You'll get there one day in the story, don't worry about it, dude.
Gotcha.
Any MSQ buffs over here? Any MSQ lore nerds like me? So you have to let it, you know, age like a fine wine. And a lot of what I'm seeing is when people come back and they play for a second time, they actually really get into it, and then they end up, you know, putting 1,000, 2,000 hours into the game. So I think something that the community in general can do really well, as well as if somebody comes in and they boost up to max level or something like that and do a story skip and whatever, just leave them to it, because there's a good chance that if you still are encouraging, they might just come back and they might do it properly that time. And I really feel that way.
What do you think's the percentage rate of people that quit on their first time and come back and then actually get gripped by the game?
I don't know.
A lot of people, especially WoW players, like a lot of people, like that I've spoken to, have been like, yeah, I didn't really feel it on my first time, and then they've come back and just been like completely just like drowned into the world, and they never want to leave, kind of thing. Like I get that a lot in YouTube comments. Like, so many people say like literally the same experience. You know, I came and on my second try, then I never looked back, but the first time I played the game wrong. And like, there's obviously no wrong way to play, but highly encouraged to kind of involve yourself in the story. And a term that I keep hearing is it's not MMORPG, it's RPG MMO. Like people reverse it.
Whoa, a little
It's a cool way to
reverse,
think
switch
of
it
right?
up.
Yeah, the little Uno reverse card. But it makes a lot of sense, like when you think about it that way. Just completely opens your mind, you know, the epiphany moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been very much enjoying the initial journey into the game, and all my preconceptions are kind of just have been shattered, and I'm very surprised with like how good it's been. Something that I've personally been very much trying to do is, like we say, dip our fingers into many pies, because people have said about the MSQ Andes where like, oh yeah, okay, they'll stick with you for a while. And obviously we're coming through with like a streamer perspective, but they'll stick with you for a while and then they'll dip. But it's been really nice exploring a bunch of different types of content. I know you've been doing the same, and trying things that we wouldn't normally try, because, you know, for multiple reasons. For me, I've been wanting to try multiple elements of the game. Like, I've been doing every single optional dungeon in A Realm Reborn, and I'm going to do the same in Heaven's Ward and any other expansion that has optional dungeons, and I'm ranking them and trying to see what really speaks to me. And then I'm doing the same with Coils. I'm going through Blind, Midnight Level, No Echo, and trying to see how I feel about the first ever trial that FF14 like devs put together and what their thought process was with it. And it's been, we'll get more into the depth of that later, but I've very much been wanting to do these things, not just because I want to show the community, hey, you know, I'm not just here for a quick like viewer grab and then I'm going to dip out and I'm just doing this for like a quick easy time for like 6 months to a year. Like, I want to invest in this game and I want to really see what it's like, because I've heard so many good things. I've seen some great creators out there putting out some good content. I've got personal IRL friends who are having a great time with it. I really want to invest in all these areas, and I want to understand the development of the game over the years. I want to see how things change from A Realm Reborn to Shadowbringers to Endwalker and whatnot. See how it all builds and improves and gets more like streamlined and stuff in time. So that's my big goal, and I don't feel like you can do that until you exhaust a lot of the different types of content. So then, like, kind of thrown over to you as well, Russ. Are there any piece of content in the game so far that you've been trying to do that you wouldn't necessarily normally do, or anything that you're looking forward to doing that you might not necessarily normally do?
Yeah, and like one thing that this game actually has, which I think is like an absolute no-brainer now that it's like there on the table, is like the scaling down and being able to like sync, level, mini level, no echo, like you said you're doing with the coils. Like, it's possible to, you know, go all the way up to 50, for example, and then people can come down and do that raid with you, even if they're max level, even if they progress the story more. Whereas in WoW, that's like straight up just not a thing. Like, and I don't know about in other MMOs, because I haven't really played too many others, but that's straight up not a thing unless you do like what streamers have done before, like Project 60 and stuff like that. Like they used to do on WoW, where everyone would make a character and then cap themselves at a certain level. But even then, it's so janky with like power creeping, because you've got different talents to how it used to have and stuff like that. And I imagine there's some abilities that have been removed from the game that were there. You know,
yeah, things have been pruned a little bit at level 50. Yeah. Warrior tanks like, apparently are kind of struggling a little smidge, but yeah.
right. Yeah. But yeah, like just having all that, the options, like you can finish the, like I would never have thought that you finish like one expansion in WoW and then you go do all the raids and all the dungeons in that expansion before you move to the next kind of like hurdle. So there's so much of this like massive like part of the tree, like all of these branches you can go down before you start going back up the trunk and continuing your journey that way. So I really like that that's just an option. It makes no sense to me now that there's so much content in, like, WoW's really my reference point, but there's so much content in WoW that just doesn't get used. You know, you could go say like, oh, I could run Molten Core, you know, one of the first raids that ever came out in WoW, at, you know, in current day, but I would cough towards a mob and it would die.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I can scale it down and go in with 40 friends or 20 friends or something like that to make it even somewhat challenging. And it's like it's a wasted opportunity, really, like not to have that in the game. And it's just so nice that that's, so I'm really looking forward to doing all that. And then, you know, on my leveling journey, I've been just like small things really that just really I feel like immerse you in, and it's like attention to detail, like the mounts having their own theme tunes and stuff like that. It's really cool. And then you've got like, just like, it's so easy for me particularly to get distracted, but like the other day I was leveling up Marauder because like we'll probably get.
Yeah, stole it.
I
Russ is like so happy that you can play every job on one character. He's like, I'll level everyone to level 30, and then then I'll continue the MSQ. Yeah.
Yeah. The other day I didn't do a single MSQ in the whole stream.
Really, just the other day, yeah, just the other day.
Actually, that was the first time I think where we didn't do one single quest. But
yeah.
That was I was like, okay, well, I'll check out Marauder, I'll level that up a little bit. And yeah, I don't get me started on why I think it's so good that all the jobs are on one character. We'll probably touch on it later, but yeah, we did a bit of Marauder, handed in a quest, and then like I don't remember how it happened. I think people were like being like, yo, watch this video. We were listening to the music. So again, like that's another thing. Just like getting distracted, like, oh, there's like the music's a big thing, the mounts are a big thing, like you know, the glam and stuff like that. And my YouTube, like, we listened to, I think it was called Papaya. It was like a Final Fantasy song. It's like the Easter theme tune. And we listened to Papaya, and then my YouTube like auto played on like a DJ mix that I'd like half listened to like off stream or something. And then everyone was like, yo, stream's getting kind of lit, dude. And then we had like a surprise rave in the Marauders Guild of Limsa for like 4 hours. And I'm not even kidding. Like everyone was just like, one more song. I was like, guys, I really need to do MSQ now. Everyone was like, one more song. And then like people started suggesting me, and people were like, yo, I can come spin for you if you want. Like, I can turn on my stream and I can DJ for you. And I'm just like, I'm in the Marauders Guild trying to level up my alt job. And just like, again, it goes back to the whole community thing, and just like there just being so many options and things to do in the game, and it's like a pleasure to get sidetracked. Whereas in WoW, I feel like you always feel like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. I know that you, when you first started as well, you were like, oh, like I probably should like only stand here for like 2 minutes. Yeah, thanks for coming to see me, guys, in game, but like I got MSQ to do. Like people are watching for the MSQ and stuff, and I feel like I should go do that, right? But people are just, at least in my experience, I'm sure for you as well, they're like happy to see you just like get lost in the world kind of thing, and just completely just take in every opportunity that you have, like completely get distracted. And like I literally spent an entire stream doing nothing, but everyone had a great time.
I can believe it. I can believe it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I keep getting your viewers like coming into, well, I mean we share some viewers, but like people come in and they'll be like, Russ is stalling again, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? I'm not his mom. Like, I'm not gonna go, Russy boy, sweetie, you gotta stop stalling, sweetie. Like, what am I supposed to do about it? But no, I think it's just showing that you're really lapping up everything that the game has to offer, and I think it's great to explore. Like this is exactly it. This is exactly what I wanted to try and get from playing Final Fantasy. Is I wanted moments where, like, I ran into my little brother. Actually, he's right there in the chat, Red Japan. Like, I ran into my little brother. He told me, like, a couple days before he started playing. He was like, oh, yeah, I'm, like, what's FF like? I'm thinking maybe I'll try it out. Like, what's it like? And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, it's good. Like, the story's really good. If you don't like the story, then, like, you know, you might not enjoy it that much. Combat's good, but it's slower than WoW. And, like, I don't know, RuneScape. I don't know if it's slower than RuneScape. I mean, do you press any buttons in RuneScape? I don't even know. But, you know, I was like, oh, it might be for you, it might not be for you. And it was like, oh, he's like, okay, cool. And that was all we said. And then, like, 2 days later, I'm running around doing a quest, and he's there. He sends me a DM, and he's like, oh, yo, I just ran past you. And then we went on this, like, little wild goose chase, and we found him, and then, like, it was, like, a little funny little moment in the stream. And then we've started raiding together. And that's the first time that we've done any kind of, like, content together as brothers since Classic WoW released, when it, not Vanilla WoW, like when Classic released, and me and 3 of my brothers, we all started doing some content. But it's been really, really cool. Like, it's been really enjoyable doing some raids with my little brother and stuff. So, yeah, it's been quite good, and it is nice taking those little breaks, going and getting sidetracked with content. I did worry at first getting sidetracked with content. I did worry that people were going to, yeah, you know, you get a little bit of like, oh, can we hurry this along? I've not really had too much of that at all, really, but no, I felt bad about like, oh, there's people surrounding me in Limsa, like, like, what do I do? Yeah. Like, I don't want to hang out here too long, because, yeah, like, I don't want to hang out too long, because then, like, in my head, I'm like, oh, I got to continue the quest thing, but then I'm like, no, everyone actually just wants to chill and hang out, so it's been nice that there's, like, that acceptance and stuff. So that's really cool, and it's been really nice bringing people along with me, going into dungeons, going into coils, and having people there. It's been really awesome playing with people and getting to know people a little bit better that are watching me and in the community. It's awesome. But I wanted to jump then, Russ, into what was your first kind of experience and your first moments coming into Final Fantasy, like the reality of the first day. And I know obviously we're getting a little bit of a streamer privilege, and I know that we, things are going to be a little bit crazy because of streamers. So we'll try not to focus on that like too much, but just the actual like game itself. Obviously, we both had people waiting for us. That's really nice. Yeah. But like as well, and mainly, what did you think about like the art design? Like the assets, the zones, the kind of just figuring out the lay of the land and how everything looked and acclimatizing to the game itself in your first day. How did that all feel?
I think for me, like the first thing that really hit me was like the music, honestly. So I started in Gridania, and you kind of come in as the initial cutscene. Gridania. And you're on the cart, and you get off, and then like music starts playing. I think it's the prelude, like do 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 on the harp, and it just like I was like, oh, that's so nice, and it goes like Final Fantasy, and I was like, it looked like a movie intro. Yeah. And I remember saying like, I feel like I'm in a movie, like I feel like this is a movie, and then I did the little tutorial where you walk around and stuff like that. I instantly rebinded my strafe piece. I play WoW, and then went through, like met the Wood Whalers, met Mother Mayune, had a little bit of a giggle at like her little cutscene. And I remember when the screen went black and then everyone was there. Obviously, that's the whole streamer privilege thing. Like, probably not that many people get that, especially like what was waiting for me. I blew me away massively, and I just wanted to like hang out. I guess like I think even if I was playing off stream and no one was waiting for me in particular or anything like that, I would have still like looked around in the inn and kind of like explored Gridania. And I remember like the Gridania theme tune. I really how do you say Gridania if you don't say Gridania?
I say Gridania.
Gridania?
Yeah.
Okay. Grid Gang. That's Gridania is my favorite.
Yeah,
Griddies. That's my favorite city so far. But I really like the theme tune. It's just super chill. It was really cozy. Like I felt it, it does feel like you're in the forest. It feels like kind of like hobbity kind of theme, right? And I just going into the Lancer, the first Lancer quest line and stuff, and you like immediately meet your kind of like foe for that quest chain and stuff. So it was really like immediately immersive, which was really nice. And obviously like I spent like a couple hours hanging out with everyone from the stream when they were there waiting for me. But yeah, like crazy first experience. That definitely, I'd be lying if I said that didn't have some kind of like influence on me. When there's that many people being so welcome, I was like immediately like, what the hell's going on? Like I never seen anything close to this in like any game ever. But yeah, like I got straight into the story. I did set aside some time towards the end of my stream to make sure that I could play the game a little bit, and I was like, guys, so thankful for coming out, but like you can shadow me if you want, but I want to actually play the game for a little bit as well and see like how I experienced that and stuff. So and I made sure I'm gonna read all the quest text and all the dialogues and do a little bit of voice acting and stuff. That's obviously for the stream. I probably wouldn't be sitting in my room by myself going like, oh, come over here, but it is nice to do that. And it just like,
you better not
like
speak to me in that manner, young man.
Yes, mum. And it's like all these little cherries
At
on top
Psybear
_
TV fun fact, people hated Gridania in 1.0 because the Black Shrouds map was horrible.
Oh, like there's so many people here. And then I was like, these guys aren't even here for me, right? So this is just happening around like the Aetheryte Crystal. Like there was like bands playing, people dancing. Like I saw like a whole. Am I stalling?
No. I just had somebody redeem. It's my bad. I didn't turn text to speech off, but somebody just redeemed a text to speech mid. Like, come on. It was a fun fact apparently though, so whatever. Yeah, sorry. Continue.
But yeah, and then we saw like a band of like Power Rangers, like 7 bards, like synced up and playing instruments and stuff, and I was just like, this is just crazy. Like this game's actually just crazy. It's basically been my experience every day since as well. So
yeah. So the thing that what I'm taking from all that, like the really big thing that gripped you initially was obviously the community element of this game. Yeah. Particularly as we're streamers, we have to acknowledge that. That's obviously going to be increased massively. But also the ambiance, the immersion, like we say, the music in this game is phenomenal. Like when you start to get to some battle themes as well, like there is a particular fight that you will come up to in the year 2025, 2026, maybe, I'm not sure yet. But when you do eventually get there, it goes hard, dude. And it's I play it sometimes at the gym now. Like that's how it kind of gets you. And Coils has had some really good music and stuff as well. Like there's some really good fight songs, and the music for me is what has really been gripping me as well. Absolutely, yeah, I feel that. Were you gonna jump on any of that just then, or were you just like hyping up?
No, I was just agreeing. Like it's just the world in general, right? Like as you said, it's just like an immersive, like it's a full immersive experience. It doesn't really miss on any particular thing, and like even graphically, it's definitely a very different like style to WoW, but not one I dislike. You know, like I'd say it's arguably better. Like there's more attention to detail with the graphics. Like the only thing I've really noticed, which looks a bit clunky, is the shadows. Other than that,
which I believe they're trying to fix in Dawn Trail, or like one of the patches upcoming or something. Yeah. For me, like, I mean, we can get into a little bit of that, because we can talk a little bit about, like, I mean, we could probably spend more time talking about the things we've really enjoyed, and then we can kind of maybe save some of the things that are less good or a bit more jarring or something, things we're less accustomed to. Maybe later down the line. I don't know how we want to do it. But for me, it feels, with the Final Fantasy like look and aesthetic, I mean, whenever you come into a new MMO, it feels like you're looking at a game with like without your prescription like glasses on. It feels like you've taken them off, and you are the Tobey Maguire like Spider-Man meme where you're like taking them off, and that's how it feels coming into a new MMO, where you just don't feel fully like comfortable with everything that how it is all visually. But for me, I actually prefer the detail in Final Fantasy to make a comparison to WoW. I actually prefer the detail to things when you're up close. Like when you see somebody, like when you see like buildings and stuff up close, and you like get to see a bit of the detail there, and you get to see like people's gear and the glamour system like up close. It's actually really good, and I like the kind of neon aesthetic with a lot of weapons that you get eventually from like ultimates and various things. The weapons are really good. Like I've got the carbuncle mount. I mean, even this tree you can see kind of slightly behind me in the background where it's like neon colored, just makes things like pop a little bit more. So I do like that extra dynamic to things. But a lot of the world does look really pretty, especially like player housing and stuff like that. But I find the zones to be a little bit empty, which again they are fixing in Dawn Trail, which is excellent. But I do find the zones to be a little bit empty sometimes. Like it's just kind of, it's very much like the quest thing has been sort of plopped there, and then there's not like,
it's barren lands.
It's like barren lands. There's no like little like hut here with like, or like a little building with like some foliage and like a box or something, like, just like little things that sort of just add a little bit of immersion. I think that's the only element of immersion that I'm really missing, is like a little bit of filler in the zones themselves. But I know that that's sort of coming in Dawn Trail, and Yoshi P and the team have been working really hard with that side of things, so I'm happy with that. Yeah,
I think like I was thinking of like older and like the surrounding lands, but I think that's supposed to be barren. Like it's kind of like desert-ish land, isn't it? It's like called like Drybone Station and stuff like that around there. So maybe not the best comparison, but in like the 12s wood, I think there's a decent amount of trees, but very much like you can kind of see the path in front of you. Like it's always there is always that kind of like path, and it's just like quite bare. It's not like pretty flowers on the side and stuff like that. It's just like you kind of know where to run without even really looking at the map too much a lot of the time. But if they're doing all that, fixing all that in the graphics update, then the more the merrier, kind of in that sense. And I've just been looking at the decking here as well, and like you can see the grain and stuff like that. So like it's definitely, there is detail in some places, but I think like there's certain parts where they put more, and certain, like if I look at the bush where like behind the catgirls on the top, like that looks a bit wonky to me. But, but the decking looks really good. So
it's getting your eyes used to it all. I think the thing as well is that, like we say, we're in very early zones. They're made for like PlayStation 3. So as well, you got to keep that in mind. So graphically, and I guess in terms of like populating the world with things, it's going to be lesser. Whereas in later zones, like I don't know, Shadowbringers and Shadowbringers and Endwalker, right? So in those, I think the zones are supposed to be a lot better and a lot more detailed and stuff. So that's all really good. And hey, we got to think about the fact that we're in we're in a 10-year-old piece of content. If you go look at like classic WoW and compare it to modern WoW, you'd go, oh wow, there's a very big difference. So you have to keep that in mind as well. But that's definitely been something that I've kind of seen at.
Think of the Barons in WoW, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you look at the Barons, you're like, oh, it's a bit.
Like, all right, we just made this really, really, really massive open zone. I put nothing in it except mobs, basically. So.
Yeah, exactly. So for you then, the MSQ is obviously a massive talking point, and we could probably be here for weeks just covering that. Where have you got up to in the story, and what have you thought about it so far? Any big things that you've been cooking as well? Anything that you're theory crafting at the moment?
I don't think there's too much to theory craft just yet. Like today, I just did the haunted house, the
Hawk Manor.
Hawky house, yeah. And that was a pretty fun dungeon, honestly. I think probably my favorite one so far. It gave me a lot of Waycrest Manor vibes from WoW, which is like a very, very, fun dungeon in my opinion. And yeah, I liked it. The bosses, I feel like the bosses started actually having some kind of mechanics to them now. Like there was, I got caught out by a look away mechanic where I had to look away from the bat. It only happened one time, then I realized. And then there was another boss where it was like a big telegraph where I'm a melee, so I had to move out. But then I just stunned him, and he cancelled the cast, and it was a boss. And I was like, oh, so I can save my stun now for that ability, so I can keep my uptime and stuff like that. So really nice doing the dungeons. Definitely been enjoying those as well. And where I'm at is, so I've just learned about Titan basically, and I think we're gonna pursue something to do with a primal called Titan. I think it's a primal. So I've just had my meeting with the Scions and been briefed pretty much, and that's the point where I'm up to. So far, I really like the Sylphs. They're really cool. I just met them, saved their elder, and I just like how they talk. I like reading their voice line. I like reading their dialogues and their voice lines and stuff. It's kind of nice. But like so far in plot wise, I think basically we're just being introduced to like all the different beast tribes, all the different primals that they worship and try and spawn in and stuff like that with the crystals. I'm gathering my crystals of light, I think they're called, when I go into my dreams and I have those hallucinations. So I know there's something cooking up there with the crystals, and I know the crystals have stuff to do with the primals, but I don't think there's been too many giveaways to like what's coming. I think like I slayed Ifrit one time, and then I've got Titan to come, and I think that'll probably be quite a big deal by the sounds of
yeah, you got Titan to come. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So I think they will that'll definitely be like one of the bigger plot points that I've had so far. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's building up to like in that vein. Yeah, I won't say too much obviously. I mean, yeah, the Sylphs, I love the Sylphs. I get a real big kick out of them. I think they're like a real good faction, the way they talk and stuff as well is really good. I think for me, I can't say too much, obviously, because I'm a little bit further ahead than you are with the story.
ARR, right? But then there's like post ARR. So is that fleshing out the story, or is that just optional stuff?
So I finished the Realm Reborn main MSQ. I've done patch 2.1. I believe there are 5 patches, but I haven't done the other 4 yet. And then I've started doing every single optional dungeon, and I've started doing coils. And there's a lot of like side lore in these optional dungeons that's really cool, really interesting. And some of it is connected to some things that happen in the story, or like characters in the story, and you see these side characters develop. That's all I'll kind of say on that element. But yeah, that's where I'm up to in the story. And then I'm doing coils, which, by the way, Russ, like I know you're probably going to plan on doing coils anyway, but definitely do it. There's a lot of story stuff in coils, so
yeah,
you learn a lot of things. And it definitely has started to answer a lot of my questions. What were you going to say?
Is it good difficulty-wise, or is it quite challenging? Because a couple of people have said, "Oh, you'll really struggle to find a group that can clear it." But I reckon we got some gamers in town. Like we can.
When you do it, I want to come back and do it with you. Like I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we can do it.
We can jump into like Coil's talk in a second, and I mean I guess I can answer that question now. It's a little bit of attention from the MSQ. Genuinely has been some of the most fun I've ever had in terms of raiding. Like
really?
Every element of it. Okay, so it's 10 a.m. on a weekday. And I've got a group.
Got a raid.
I've got a group to go and play. Like, none of that, like, 6 till 10 p.m. after work, rush home, no GM, like can't even eat, gotta, you know, run upstairs and log into the PC, jump in raid for 4 hours, get upset because Billy keeps standing in the mechanic, rinse and repeat 3 times a week, and you're locked into this schedule. Like, forget all that. I don't want to ever do that ever again. Coming in, you only have 8 players for the trial, so it's very feasible to be able to find 7 people at 10 a.m. in that point of a day. Like, yes, okay, bit of a streamer privilege, but there's Discords and stuff out there that you can find people in.
Have you been running with the same 8 each time that you've tried it, or?
More or less, yes. We have kind of like a roughly consistent roster. One of those players is my little brother, and then we kind of switch things up depending on who can and cannot make it at the time, but we've always had people available, and sometimes we have to swap people out. But we've gone in blind, midnight level, no echo, and there is definitely a challenge, and it's been really fun working things out. You know, I'm no Max, I'm no Scribe, I'm not some big race toward first raid leader in WoW and like the 21st man and this big giga brain strategist working with analysts and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not coming into this like, oh, I'm gonna pick apart every fight in 3 seconds and demolish it. I'm coming in like, hey, let's just see what happens. I don't know how this is going to go. I have no idea how they're designing these raids. So trying to figure out Final Fantasy convention, like there's a big thing that they do with using clockwise markers. So as soon as we go into a fight, and there's any form of position, everyone's like, all right, should we get the clock markers down? Do you want me to set that up? And it's like, we've not even pulled the boss yet, bro. Like, what are you talking about? And for me, that's not comfortable, because in WoW, you do not have 20 players in a clock formation, because it just doesn't work. That's not how fights are designed. So when everyone's coming in like, all right, should we get the clock going? And I'm like, what are you, sponsored by Rolex? Like, let's settle down a little bit. Why don't we do it this other way instead? Why don't we just move to the player on our left and just do that? Why don't we just freestyle it? Like there's this one mechanic, and I'm just like, hey, why don't I just run in a circle? And everyone's like, no, that's not how we do it in Final Fantasy. We don't run in a circle. We run this way. And I'm just like, bro, I'm literally running in a circle, and it works. Like, I'm trying to develop the Final Fantasy brain. Yeah, I'm reinventing the Final Fantasy wheel, but what's been really fun for me is I'm starting to get to a point where I'm predicting mechanics. And something that you will sort of do is you'll go into a boss fight, and you will instantly assess the arena. You will look at its shape, its size, its like everything. ASL, baby. Age, sex, location. Like, you'll figure it all out. Because you think, I wonder how mechanics might operate in this arena, the way this boss looks. Like, if a boss looks a certain way, if it's got a lion's head and a scorpion's tail, I immediately know, right, like I'm standing on the side of it. So I've been learning a lot from these optional dungeons and from coils, but it's genuinely been the most fun I've ever had going in blind. There's no PTR testing of the bosses. For me, like, you know, I've not done any PTR testing. There's no reveal or anything, because I'm used to playing WoW, and before the expansion's even released or the patch is released, I've gone and done 5 hours of PTR testing. I've watched all the YouTube videos, the Dratnos guides. I've gone and played normal and heroic, and I've gone and raced toward first cast, where I've had to really in-depth learn all these fights, and then I go and log in, and I know everything, or know a lot of it. So it's been really fun just having absolutely no clue in a new game, and trying to figure out how to optimize Samurai at the same time. It's really cool, but I know that was a lot of information. If you want to jump on anything, like, go for it, Chief.
Especially what you said about the boss arenas and stuff. Like, I've looked at, I think, 2 fights. I've been trying to keep as much blind as possible, but I did want to do some, like, reaction stuff on YouTube for looking at a couple of fights. So I did one, I forgot to hit record, so that was dumb.
Nice.
But I looked at, I think it was called, like, Eden's Gate or something, and there was, like, this, like, immediately you know, you get a little cinematic as you go into the boss arena and stuff. And there was, like, it was like a grid. It was, like, 4x4 square grid.
Were there lines on the floor?
There were lines on the floor.
Lines on the floor, baby, okay.
Like 16 squares, and I was like, alright, something's going to happen. Like, either the floor's going to drop away, or, because it was suspended in midair as well, I was like, either the floor's going to drop away, or you're going to have to, like, drop something in certain segments, because it's all, like, really clearly segmented. And we'd, like, watch the fight back, and, like, all these things are happening, stuff like raising up and going down, and all this stuff, and it was just, like, it was so cool, because, like, I feel like they don't really take advantage of the arena as much as they could in WoW. It's very much, like, you decide how you're going to use it. It doesn't, like, the terrain doesn't move around you. It's just like, oh, well, this will be a good place to drop a bunch of sludge. Like, so we'll put a marker over there. It's not like the sludge is coming there. You know, it's always going to be there. And And another one I looked at was a boss called Rubicante, and like it was a circuit arena, and I immediately saw pizza slices on the floor, and I was like,
isn't that a drink? Isn't that like a juice, a tropical juice drink?
That's,
oh no, Rubicon.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Rubicon, Rubicante.
Well, he was Rubicante.
Okay. Yeah. What'd you call me? Yeah.
What'd you call me? So that was like pizza slices, and I was like immediately like in the little in the cinematic that zooms in and starts playing the music. I was like, all right, pizza slices, something's gonna happen here, and then I won't give away too much, but there was like again like lines that went over to like switches, and you'd have to like work out by looking at the floor like where the danger zones are, and then therefore where the safe spots were for certain mechanics and stuff. And then you had like stuff off the terrain again, like flying across, so you had to like predict where the telegraphs were going to go, because once the telegraph goes down you only have like half a second to move, so you had to like actually visually look at like these kind of like archangel things and try and like best guess where, and then you had like maybe a millisecond or half a second to like reposition if you need to, but like just it feels like a bit more intuitive, whereas in WoW it's like, okay, like you're in a room but you really never know what's going to happen, and also like you said, you've already looked at the boss guide anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, I really like that blind prog is a thing. Actually, I really like that it's a fairly widely accepted principle that, you know, there are groups that probably do expect you to go and watch guides and stuff.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to hang around. But there's like a, you know, select group of players which are like, yeah, like blind prog, no problem with that. Like, if it takes us 2 months, it takes us 2 months, and that's okay. Whereas in WoW, like, I don't think I've basically, I'm sure they exist, but I feel like they barely exist, and maybe it's like, you know, only certain guilds are like, yeah, don't worry about guides, guys, and even then you're probably gonna have a couple people who do watch the guide and stuff. They don't want to be the floor POV guy and stuff like that. I think actually, if I were to play WoW again, like on a serious basis, and we'll probably get into this a little bit later, but like I think trying to bring some blind prog stuff over to that and do it like with a community.
I would love that. I would genuinely really love that. I don't know how we'd do it, but like it would be really cool.
Like, imagine, you know, if we have a Final Fantasy viewer base, and, you know, probably some of them have a crossover with WoW, or they used to, or maybe they still do. You know, maybe some people would be up to potentially just blind progging the new raids as they come out, kind of thing. Like, could be a cool piece of content to do with your Final Fantasy viewers and Final Fantasy community as well, because they might be into that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty sweet idea, I reckon.
Yeah, or even just like Mythic Plus as an angle, but
yeah, and just like not take it too seriously, you know, not be like raging at people. Not that you and I do that, but you know, only Billy. But yeah, just in that kind of like safe space where it's expected that people make mistakes. But I think that safe, like, you know, having that expectation taken off you is very difficult to find in WoW. Like,
yeah,
you know, I've heard so many stories of people having their head bitten off, and they're literally like level 4 in a dungeon, or like level 14 in the dungeon, like their first Dead Mines run, and they didn't know that, you know, this thing did that, and then they're like, how dare you, and then they get screamed at, and they're like, fuck this game, I'm out of here. Like, I'll go find a different MMO, thank you very much. And yeah, but that's I think that would be like a cool thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. Something as well, like jumping on the actual like raid design itself, something that I've noticed with Coils, which is obviously the first trial I've done, is how tightly tuned everything is. Like, I've gone into it, and I think it's going to be, in essence, like, not as overlapping as it is, but it's really cool with how they really have finely tuned it and push you to your limits. I'm thinking, no way are they going to be punishing with that timing. Like, there's no way we're going to have to do X, Y, Z within that time frame. Surely they're going to give us a break here. I mean, it's like, it's Coils, it's the first one, it's not too bad. But they are hot on it. Like, it is tuned. And you have to play very well. And I love that. I think that they've absolutely nailed Coils. Like, if Coils is not...
Yeah, setting up.
If Coils isn't considered one of the best raids that they've ever done, which it isn't, and I'll tell you that, there's definitely some jank in it. Like, there's definitely some shit where you're like, okay, well, this is just weird. Like, this is janky as hell. But some of it is so finely tuned, and they have such good mechanic overlapping. Like, right now, we're progressing T8. And I won't tell you anything about it, but there's some real tight overlapping, at least in the way that we're doing the strategy, and it's crisp, dude. It's so exciting, because you know, like, we just need to play better. We just need to play better. We know the mechanics. We just need to be better. And that's a great feeling for a fight. And figuring out a lot of these mechanics and how they all interplay. I'm going into these bosses and I'm going, man, 2 pulls in, there's no way we're going to figure out how the hell this boss works. There's no way unless somebody tells us. 2 pulls later, it's, oh my god, I know everything about this fight, but how the hell do we execute it?
Until the next time.
And then there's really good phasing as well. Like, the ramping up of the fights over time is really well designed. I'm very impressed with the Final Fantasy like devs who might not even work there anymore, but 10 years ago when they designed coils, like, I'm very impressed. And if things are only going to get better, then I'm very excited for the high-end scene of FF, particularly playing through blind. But I think we've touched a bit on the rating, unless there was anything else you wanted to touch on. I am aware of the time, and we do want to do a Q&A and stuff. Was there anything you wanted to touch on? Or?
Yeah, I wanted to say like basically how wrong I was on my initial thoughts to raiding. So I watched, like I told you about, watching a couple videos, and I remember being like, oh, I've got the fight, by the end of the video I was like, I've got the fight sussed out, and everyone's like, you probably noticed like 1/4 of the mechanics, and I was like, oh, because I was like really like trying to eagle-eye everything with like Mythic Raider brain, Raid Leader brain, and stuff like that, and I was like, yeah, I think I could do this like within 10 like 20 pulls maybe, something like that, and they were just like there's just no way, like it's so far behind. And as well, like people said that on average fights, like savage fights, I think are like 12 minutes, like every fight, and usually you only get to that kind of time in WoW on like an end boss or like the the boss before the last and like you maybe get 1 or 2 of those a tier, but if you're getting like 8, 9, 10, I think maybe 12 of those like in a whole patch, and they're all 12 minutes, I was like, oh, if the fights are so long, maybe like you'll have like a bit more, less like punishment second by second, like you just said.
Nope,
that's not the thing. It's 12 intense minutes.
It kicks up and it just keeps kind of ramping, and then you go, oh wait, are we getting a break? And then you don't get a break, and you go, oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm that just kind of excites me, if anything, like how wrong I've been told I am of my initial impressions. The nice thing as well is as soon as you figure out a fight, you then go back and do it a second time, and you go, holy shit, this is such an easy fight, dude. This is so easy. I think definitely playing through blind is a big element as to why it's been so enjoyable, but I would very much like to promote that type of gameplay to a lot of people. Like I say, I'm doing all the optional dungeons, and I'm going in blind, and I'm going in Midnight Level No Echo, and I would really love to encourage more people out there to do that. And if they want to use my Discord as a way of finding groups to play with each other or what, like, awesome, because I just think it's such a great way to play a game. And I'm somebody who, I don't want to go and research everything. Like, I don't want everything to be data mined and presented to me and see it on Twitter all the time. I want to, like, get there and go, what the hell am I even going to be fighting? That's so fun. It's so fun. And you don't even need a fight to be as good because you're going in blind. So, like, the charm of it is enjoying the journey and enjoying those little wins of starting to unlock piece by piece how it all works. So it's been really, really cool. But I wanted to jump back onto some of, like, the MSQ stuff. And then I think we should probably try jumping over to our little mini topic. And then we'll go into some Q&A. Because I am aware of time and I don't want to keep us overrunning too much. And if there is anything else you want to bring up, for sure, go for it, Russ. But in terms of the MSG, then, how have you been feeling in terms of, like... In fact, I'll give my little bit first, and then I want to see how you've been feeling about it. But I found with the MSQ, even though I've been really enjoying it, like, I've been loving it, I'm finding that there are definitely bits at times... Like, it feels like a slow builder. Like, you're building up, it's a little bit slow, but you're building up to this thing, like, fighting this primal, like, Ifrit or something. You're building up, and then it drops down a bit, and it sort of resets, and the story kind of takes a little bit of a dip again, and maybe you go and do some little side character things that don't really matter too much, or at least you don't think they do, and then it starts to build up on that roller coaster again, and you have another big payoff. And it's a lot of these like constant little wins, and the story never fully drops down back to the baseline. It always, drops just that little bit less each time, and you're always kind of on that incline. So it's been very enjoyable from that perspective. But for me, it's been missing a little bit of combat. Like, I don't think there are enough combat opportunities to break up the meat of the story. And I feel like they could definitely encourage you to jump into a few extra things. But what I've been considering with that is the fact that we're playing A Realm Reborn after it's been sort of remastered. If you were playing A Realm Reborn when it released, you wouldn't gain as much XP from the MSQ. So you would be going and doing all the side quests, you'd be going and doing optional dungeons, you'd be doing fates. So it's very much like that's what I'm trying to keep in mind. So I'm actually looking at the story more positively based on these elements. But I'm also finding with the story, like, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, like, with this, how the story is going. But I'm very much liking the morally gray element of a lot of the things that I've been thinking about, you know? I don't know if you're, like, how you've been approaching a lot of the story. No, you're not there yet?
I don't think so. Like, I've definitely noticed that there's, like, definitely some tension in the world and stuff like that, but I don't think we've got to the part where anything crazy's happened. I definitely agree with you about the combat. Sometimes I feel like I'll do an entire... Well, my entire day of MSQ isn't that much MSQ, but I could do an entire stream of MSQ, and I've probably only, you know, I feel like I've slain less than 20 enemies total.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of running around, and I like that in a way. It does remind me a bit of like classic WoW, where you have just kind of like appeared in this world and as like a young adventurer, and you've got to kind of like get your street cred. You know, you've got to earn your trust between all the different nations and factions and stuff like that. Make your choices. You know, I've chosen my allegiance with the Mortal Flames and stuff. So you're definitely like going towards a destination that you can feel yourself, as you said, like on that steady incline. Like more things get mentioned repeatedly, but
yeah,
totally get what you mean with the like peaks and troughs. You get like, it does feel like almost like you're repeating the same quest line in a different environment sometimes. It's like you learn about Beast Tribe, you go and do a few quests, you get to a dungeon, that's like a big pivotal moment, maybe you get a cutscene, maybe you get a little bit more information about I've met like La Brea and stuff, and it's like we're slowly La Brea?
Who's he?
I don't know, some masked mage man. He's got some minions. Yeah. So like it's all building towards like that, but on our way, it's like that's like the kind of ongoing thing. You know, I can't remember what they were called even, but something of the 12th sin or something. I just met them today. But
the who? The 12th sin?
12 something. Everything's about 12 in this game. But I call him Lala Bread. So
yeah,
kind
fair
of
enough.
Take the edge off it a little bit.
Fair enough.
And like, you know, that's obviously going somewhere, and then, but it does feel like it's like, all right, let's go settle this Beast Tribe and meet, like, see what the Primal's doing, and you get to the dungeon, and then it progresses that La Brea, his storyline a little bit, and then, but in the process, you're like settling a kind of small territorial issue, and then it just feels like you're kind of going between all the small territories, and then when I've done that, I think it's like 8 times, there's like eight Beast Tribes, I think. Or 6, I can't remember, and then I'm gonna face that guy potentially, and there's gonna be something with that, because there was a cinematic where a very shady looking, you know, robed up guy was standing on a hill, and everyone kept looking at him, but no one really said anything about him. So yeah, I'm assuming that's connected in some way. You know, when the calamity happened and stuff. But yeah, I can definitely see it go in places. I just don't think that I think this Titan thing that I've got onto today is going to be like a...
This Titan guy. We got to go sort him out.
This Titan dude. I think he's going to be a pretty big deal. And then I think after that, it might, you know, we might be dropping some bombs on some quest plot lines and stuff. So I'm very much looking forward to, you know, the next week or so of MSQ, because it'll probably take me a week to get to him.
Yeah. I think for me, like, the conclusion for A Realm Reborn, like, there was such devastation for me with how that story, like, really concluded. So I'm really, excited for you to experience that as well. And one thing I have noticed is, like, I think for me, what's funny, and Asmongold did talk about this as well, where he was saying about, like, the questing is a bit funny in this game, where... Yeah. There'll be a guy, like, the person that's like
saying such devastation. Everyone's just screaming such.
I don't know. I think because I just said it weird. I don't know. But
re-quoted something.
What? No. I'm quoting Asmongold, right? I'm quoting Asmongold now, but he was saying about like a character will tell you like, oh, I need a rock. Go get me this rock.
Yeah.
And then you go to the person who's supposed to have the rock, and you're like, hey man, I've come for the rock. I'm here from this guy. And then that guy's like, oh no, bro, like I can't get you the rock. It's a different guy. And then you go to the other guy, and he's like, oh yeah, I had the rock, but this thing happened, so you got to go find the rock. And then like you go in to find the rock, and like that's how it feels with some of the story, with how it drops you along. And at first you're kind of like, why am I going to like all these random ass people? And then things happen if you're paying close attention. It does all get played in. It does all get played in eventually. And like I said, I've been doing some of these optional dungeons, and there are characters who were here earlier on who are now relevant again in some of these optional dungeons. So if you play close attention to the story, there's a lot of extra elements to it that I've really liked. So yeah, I can't wait for you to like finish Realm Reborn, and then we can talk more about some of the story as well. Like probably go on.
I have been trying to pay attention to like the small side characters and stuff. I get what you mean. Some like today I was running around Gridania.
Yeah.
For like 30 minutes with a button. Like whose button is this? And it's like, oh, maybe this guy knows. And you're like over there, and they're like, oh, that person knows everyone in the town. And you take it to them, and it's like, oh, but this guy he does the engravings. It's like, oh yeah, but this is a sigil for that. And it's like 10 minutes of you just running between like 5 random people, and it's like, why did I need to run between all 5?
Yeah, like why couldn't they just
there
have
must be something more to this. Like,
yeah.
I'm learning who's the engraver and who's the person who knows all the names and all this. So like, I'm assuming it comes back around. I hope so, because it's like it does feel like a bit of a build-up. But sometimes I'm like, is this just extra steps for the sake of it, or is this like, is there a purpose to this? You know?
Yeah, for sure. Right. Is there anything else that you wanted to kind of touch on with that sort of stuff, or are you happy? I mean, one last thing I did want to say is I love the class quests, by the way. I love that those are an addition, and I've really enjoyed those. Like for the Arcanist, we had Kalia, who has been my favorite side character so far, like my favorite like named character so far in the story, in terms of like I don't know, waifu stuff or whatever. Like I just think she's a cool character, so I've liked her. But what do you feel about like the class quests and all that sort of stuff? I mean, there's so many things we haven't touched on as well, with like all of the jobs on. We can't do it all in one. There's tons of stuff.
We'll have to have a second episode.
Yeah, we'll have to do a next episode in 2 weeks from now.
Okay, in that regard. Like, we didn't run out of things to say before the time limit.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, what do you think about like class quests and stuff like that?
I really like that, and something that I feel like is missing from WoW, and they used to have it. Like, you used to have class quests back in vanilla and stuff like that. Like, you'd have every
getting your warrior weapon at level 30 or whatever, or unlocking bear form,
or your weapon, or like an ability or something like this. And it's like they used to take you down that trail, and then one day they just were like, nah, we'll just have you automatically learn your spells. Like it went from like having class quests and like going to someone who's like supposedly a master of your craft to teach you, which they do in this game. Like, you have to do a class quest, and you meet like big characters and NPCs who are, you know, world renowned at that job, and then they teach you like a certain ability which like, you have to earn and stuff like that. Like, I really like that you feel like more attached to your job, and then you can do that, you know, was it 18 times for all different jobs as well, so, or like 19
and
times.
the crafting has classes or like job profession quests. I
haven't even touched on any crafting yet. I don't know about yourself, but
I've seen a little bit of a video of some fishing when I was drunk at the preach party, and fishing looks insane, dude. It looks so cool.
I've heard people can straight fish for like 10 hours straight, which is really nice, because fishing in WoW is like, click the bobber.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the least appealing thing, so if fishing...
No, bro, I think the fishing, it looks like you're LB3ing constantly. I don't know, like, what they've done, but there's just, like... There's just shit's manic on your screen. It's crazy. Fishing looks like really, really cool. Right, so Rusty boy, so chat, we're gonna do a live Q&A in a moment. So start preparing your questions. I think it would be nice to probably, you know, grab some people from the audience, and like they can raise their hand, and we'll try and be fair and trying to pick a couple questions from live views, and then also in chat as well. I know we both have our collective chat, so feel free, Russ, to pick some from yours, one from mine, like however we want to do it. But also, before we quickly get onto that, whilst everyone's thinking of their questions they want to ask us, we both came together today with like a specific question that doesn't have any necessarily like a topic, but it's just like something to mention. So we both brought like a question for each other. Do you want to go with yours first?
Yeah. I wonder if we've thought about anything similar.
Sure.
So mine to you is, how do you see like your relationship with WoW going forward now that you've done the switch over to Final Fantasy in the sense, like, how do you see yourself like playing the game? Do you see yourself playing the game any differently? Do you see yourself streaming the game much, or at all, or anything like that? And in what capacity? Like, will you change your content style towards it if you do stream it and stuff like that? Like, how are you gonna? What's your approach to WoW now that you've experienced Final Fantasy and the community and stuff?
That's a great question. I actually wasn't going to ask that question. My question I've been kind of trying to formulate anyway, but that's a good question. I think for me, I definitely still want to play WoW because I love that game, and I've been playing it for like 20 years, streaming it for 6 years, and I'm just trying to figure out where it's going to go for me, because for the longest time, I've been a full-time streamer now for like 3 years, and when you stream a game, you have to have a very different relationship with it. You can't just do what you want to do. You have to do what gets viewers and what you are. Like, I'm known in WoW for being the Feral Druid guy. Like, Max will call me up when he has to ask about how Feral's looking, and I'll go and jump on his like stream and talk about that. Or people come to me for like tips and tricks and advice and all that kind of stuff. Not to say I'm the best Feral or anything like that, but just like that's sort of a role that I filled. So I do miss having that sort of role, and I do miss people kind of being involved in that community where people like me being in that space. But I ultimately was not happy with how I interface with WoW. I wasn't happy with, I log in, I'm already stressed, I sit AFK in Valdrakken, I don't get invited to content, I can't do anything about it, I get frustrated, everyone's telling me to reroll, all that kind of stuff. I can't do Mythic Plus at a high level, or like at a really high level, because nobody wants somebody who's talking to their chat during a 28 key, so I'm stuck doing like 24s and 25s with random pugs, because like I want to talk to chat. So it just wasn't working, and it took me so long to realize that it wasn't working, and Final Fantasy ultimately has shown me that you can explore different avenues of content, and if people really like you for you, and if they really like that game, then they will follow you. So Final Fantasy and the community, I mean everyone here, has like really taught me that there's so much more to what I was doing than what I was doing previously, which was just Mythic Plus endlessly. So if I do get back into WoW, I'm going to approach it from a very different angle. Yeah, I'm going to have those days where I just slam some keys and love doing that and stream a bit of that. But I'm also going to have my days where I go and do some like mount farming or some gear collection, or just teaching Final Fantasy players that want to learn how to get involved in the game and how to play it and stuff like that. So I'd love to kind of fulfill that niche and go more kind of casual. I've never really been a super competitive guy. Like I like just kind of enjoying what I enjoy because I enjoy it. I don't need to be the winner at it. So I'd like to bring that approach over to WoW and kind of bring a lot of the love and empathy that a lot of the Final Fantasy players have, but try and bring that over to WoW in some regard. I do plan on streaming it a bit going forward, but probably on an alt channel. Like somehow, I sort of know. Like I'm probably on an alt channel or on Kick or something. Because from a streamer perspective, you have to consider the business side. So you have to think about your average view count, your chat interaction, all this kind of stuff, because it affects your sponsorships and whether or not you get them. And like, there's like a lot of weird shit you have to consider. You can't just go and randomly start doing, and you have to think about your schedule. Somebody comes into the stream, they expect you to do a certain content at a certain time at a certain day. So you can't just freestyle it. But I'll figure it out. I would love to go and play some WoW again and do some Mythic Plus, but I gotta see how my new community wanna interface with that. What I did find is that like a lot of there are some really loyal like WoW viewers who have watched me regardless, but there are some people who have just completely abandoned me because I'm not playing WoW, and that kind of is shit. Like that feels pretty bad. So I don't know how it will be with Final Fantasy players. I just want to try and show Final Fantasy players who I am, and if they like me, hopefully they'll want to watch me if I play some WoW or if I play a different game as well. Final Fantasy Fall Guys, who knows? But what about for you, man?
Similar kind of thing. I think if again, like you, I've had people who, you know, have been following me on WoW for years and years and years, and the second that I don't play WoW, they're just gone in the wind kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
there was like not that loyalty there. Like, I'm quite hopeful and like positive minded about like the Final Fantasy community possibly being open to the idea, because as we kind of mentioned earlier, there is a crossover. Like a lot of Final Fantasy players
all Final Fantasy players hate WoW, just saying, by the way.
They hate WoW, they do, but imagine if you could pitch it in a way where it's like you also hate WoW. So it's like, all right, let's go play WoW together. You know, it's like okay, there's a new WoW expansion coming out. Like, let's say like the next expansion drops, and it's like, we could check out the expansion, and like maybe some people from the Final Fantasy community and chat and stuff would want to at least check it out. And you just do the casual content, like you said, like do the dungeons with them, level up with them, you know, maybe try to do like blind progress with the Final Fantasy community. Like, it's like a new expansion would be like a fresh start for people to kind of like go in with an open mind, like we have come to this game with an open mind in a way, and like potentially, you know, try the first couple weeks, try the first raid, and go in blind, like basically play WoW like you would Final Fantasy, just like a little project for a couple weeks, like explore the game, see the expansion, and then do it that way. I think if I play WoW, I'm probably not going to stream it for a decently long time, maybe until like the next expansion, unless I stream on like an alt channel, like you said. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, you can finally get the Twitch name Just Stolen.
I could.
Make sure you don't miss an L and get Just Stalin. You know, make sure you get.
Yeah, I was super careful about that when I made my character.
No. So, yeah, phenomenal. So my question for you then, Russ, is, I watched the FanFest. Like, I watched a little bit of it. I watched the keynote, and Yoshi P, who everyone knows and loves, comes on stage, and he goes, "I will die before I stop making this game." And that, in me, reminded me of the Chris Metzen and the WoW developer back in the day. The absolute pure, unrivaled passion and love and interest in their game. And you can tell that he's not just there because, like, he's like, oh, I'm going to get a paycheck and easy peasy. The man could probably retire. He probably could have retired 10 years ago. Well, actually, no, he couldn't, because ARR sucked then. But he could probably have retired a year ago. But he's like, I'm going to keep doing this forever because I love it. And that passion really speaks to me and reminds me of kind of like that Blizzard of old and what I really love about MMOs and that kind of game design. But also, there's been the 10-year anniversary event where a lot of the developers have been inserted in some manner into the game itself in a very loving way. What do you think about the way in which the Final Fantasy developers interface with their community as a whole?
I think in general it's absolute, you know, night and day between how the WoW developers and stuff are communicated with. There's a couple on Twitter who are like more renowned as, you know, being able to,
like Skarzard and people like that who get involved.
And even like Quick Now, which is the new chairman at Blizzard and stuff, like he chats and he watches the streams and stuff.
Yeah, talk shit on Asmon, you know, just like
Asmon,
president things, you know.
Yeah.
Just presidents of a AAA company kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, Asmon was one of the most powerful people on Twitch. He's the most powerful person at Blizzard, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Battle of the Titans.
Battle of the Titans. But yeah, like there's a couple who are really well renowned, but I think out of like the original developers and people that, as you said, like kind of cared for the game and like really nourished and cherished it, I think Chris Metzen has actually gone back to Blizzard now, and he's the only like OG person there is left at the company. And like that just shows, things about him, that he tried to come back even after he like left and basically I think retired even, and like he came back because he was like, all right, I do want to steer this game in the right direction and stuff. But for the most part, Blizzard do get a bad rap, and I think that they handle their criticism badly in a lot of ways as well. There's definitely, as I said, like there's the select few who probably are a bit more open to receiving criticism and being constructive with it, but a lot of them are very much like, I'm right, you're wrong, shoot me down kind of thing.
Yeah.
Particularly like Ian as well gets a very bad rap, and I think he's probably a really nice
Chat.
guy. But...
Chat. Russ does know that I asked him about the FF developers, right?
Yeah, but I'm making a parallel here. Like, I'm making a contrast.
No, I'm just pulling your leg. Yeah.
And from what I know, and you know, from everyone very, very much highly regarding, there's Yoshi P, who's, you know, you say his name, everyone types Giga Chat or Based, like he's super loved. And then you've got like, there's a music guy.
There's Koji. Koji's great. He's not the music guy though. He's Thul's Balls. You have Soken. Yeah. And Ishikawa. That's a name for me that comes to mind as well. Ishikawa apparently is super sick. Like does a bunch of is like directing a lot of the story elements now as well. They did like a really good quest line, and then they're like, Zam. They're now in a really good spot for like directing the overall. I think they did Shadowbringers or something. They're a writer, yeah. Or Stormblood. They did Stormblood. Okay, yeah. So they're another great developer as well.
Yeah. So I don't know too many of them by name, but someone's also told me about there was like the original quest writer as well, inserting loads of different like tidbits and jokes into the like ARR quest specifically. So there's a lot of jokes in there, which like people are like classic. I can't remember his name, but like classic him. And then yeah, just like as you said with the you know, like the interactions, I haven't seen many, so I got a very limited opinion, but I've seen like videos of like Yoshi P meeting with the like streamers and the creators and stuff, like really being open to that. Like I've seen one of him with Zenosis like saying, you know, like we watch the streams all the time and stuff like that, and like Zenosis is just like taken aback by that. Like it's like surreal in that sense, and I feel like you know, that's just a really nice open thing. It doesn't feel like there's a hierarchy like us above you. It's like, let's build this thing together and like really taking on board feedback and stuff. So yeah, I'm, you know, my limited opinion is very positive towards the devs and stuff from what I know.
Yeah, and I think Foxclon and Mobile are the most important people because they're the community managers and they can potentially get us tickets to FanFest in London in October, because we don't have tickets yet, chat. We're trying to get tickets, because otherwise it's just going to be me and Russ in a Greg's outside the thing.
We're gonna go to London regardless, but it would be sweet if we had tickets to the actual event.
Yeah.
We're gonna go and we're gonna have like a loser squad where we're just like, no ticket gang, we can go to this beaten up pub outside the venue. Like me and Sai are just gonna be there sipping on a beer. Like, you can come join us, guys. Like, no ticket gang, but we'll be there regardless. It'd be sweet if we can get a ticket. You say someone can hook us up. You say devs are just gonna slide on in right there and hook us up.
I know Arthurs and Zeno are planning on going, and they're trying to get a hold of tickets as well. And I think you and me could probably take them in a fight. So why don't we
take their
let them get tickets?
Yeah.
And then we can meet them at Greg's and get into a little street brawl, try and take their tickets off them, see what happens.
Yeah.
And
Tesco car park, mate.
Yeah. Me at Tesco's, mate. Oi, bruv, British, mate. They won't know what's hit them. So
we'll see how it goes, right? Like we're very new to this, so I mean I would definitely not be offended if we couldn't get one, right? Like I would say my expectation would be not to get one, and it would be absolutely amazing if we did, right? But
yeah, apparently there's going to be a bunch of spoilers, so not going wouldn't necessarily be like the end of the world. I still think it'll be really cool to just go down to London and soak in the like atmosphere. I mean, CC Lemon's going to be there. He's one of my mods, one of my buddies. So chat, you can give him a little pat on his bald head IRL, and it'd be nice to just hang out with some of the content creators if they're around, and obviously everyone in the community, like anyone that wants to come in. We're gonna plan a meet up, aren't we? So anyone who wants to come and like hang out with us, we will try and at least schedule something for like a time slot on at least one of the days.
We could do a live episode of this.
Oh, imagine! I don't know how we'd have to sneak into the venue. We'll figure something out, dude. We'll figure something out.
Pub.
Oh yeah, but I mean, we could just like try and make it somewhat official. We'll try and sneak in. Excellent. So I think we should jump into the Q&A now, if you're happy to do that. I have been watching a lot of the comments in chat, and there have been some great comments, and obviously we've not been able to respond to everything, but I have seen stuff, so that's good. But are you happy to do the Q&A, Russ?
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah? Excellent. Okay. So should we grab a question from the audience? Look, there's already people waving. Should Do you want to pick the first one? And everyone can just wave if they have a question to ask, if they're in the audience, and just spam it so we know who's waving. Do you want to pick someone?
I see a Lalafell waving frantically at the front. Orion.
Oh, yeah.
So
Orion.
We can go.
What's your question, Orion?
He's typing.
Oh, question for Psy. May I give you a gift? That sounds very, very lovely. I'd love a gift. Shall I come down to you? Yeah, surely.
Oh, awesome.
It's not...
Now
oh,
kiss.
It's a flute. Oh, thank you very much for the flute. I thought it might be some raisins or some Coke.
All right,
thank you.
The flute,
Can I play it?
Click the flute. I think I know what it might be. Check your
oh,
mount
it's a
journal.
mount.
Check your mount journal.
Oh, I thought it was. I thought it was a flute. I thought I was gonna make some sick music, dude. Holy schmoly! What is this?
It might be the gamer one.
Wait, is this the one from Criterion?
Oh yeah.
This is the boss in the Criterion. Oh my god! I didn't earn this though. I can't get boosted in my first podcast, bro. This is actually how my friend CC Lemon's kid stares at him whenever he's got a sausage sandwich and she wants some of it. This is...
yeah, the face on that one.
I've seen her make this face and stance. She's very top-heavy. She's very...
eyes are going in separate directions.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. That's so cool. I can't replace my carbuncle, though, with the carbuncle slippers and everything. Like...
yeah.
But I might have to. I love tigers and like lions, panthers and stuff. Wait, is there music? Hold on.
Yeah. If you move around and it gets louder.
Hold on. Play music when mounted. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. It's a banger. It's a real rat jam.
Oh wait.
I've got
why is it so quiet?
You gotta move around. It gets louder when you move.
Wait, what?
Yeah, if you run around, it gets louder. At least mine does.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's a jammer, dude. Alright, let's do a question.
Yeah, next question. My goodness, thank you so much, Orion. That's so cool.
Alright, you pick next.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I just got a nice little gift. Okay.
Good question.
I think Ellie was waving first. I think I'll go for Ellie. Apologies about Zar. Ellie, why don't you ask your question?
We'll take a couple from chat afterwards as well, right? Because some people might not be in the game.
Yeah. We'll do a chat question as well each. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hold on, they're formulating. They're formulating.
Old?
It's not going to be to give me another gift, is it? Because that would make me laugh.
It's a good one, mate.
I'll have a cup of tea whilst I wait for the question.
Yeah, if people in my chat as well, if you want to type a question in the Twitch chat, I'll look for a couple and we'll maybe take a couple from each of our chats or whatever.
When is clubbing time? And for us, when are back and rave at Limsa? When's clubbing time? I don't think we have anything planned for like a big club, do we? But I mean, I don't. Do you?
I know that I want to throw a party at some point, but I don't have any like anything set in stone at the moment.
I would like to do a party at some point soon, but I just haven't got anything planned yet. Probably some like for nice monumental moment, like I don't know, when I finish Coils or finish like an expansion or something, you know, like something big. But that would be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
And, Aura soon TM.
Aura soon TM. Yeah.
I've got the Fantasia.
You get a Fantasia when you finish your own Reborn. So, did we get there?
I've already got 2.
Yeah.
Left in my bag.
Okay. What about a question from your chat? Have you got anything? And my chat, please feel free to type your question in as well. If we don't have any ones in chat, we will grab someone from in-game. But do you have anyone?
Yeah. There's one from Meep Dragon. What would you tell someone to convince them to start Final Fantasy XIV, whether it be like a guildie in WoW or a friend outside, you know, gaming at all or anything like that?
Do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I can give you some time if that's what you're looking for. Yeah, I reckon I would just, for me, like a lot of it comes from, I guess, like I was always, rediscovering the story element of the game has actually been really nice to me, because I used to basically be like a single player story gamer. Like before, we had Xbox Live and online and stuff like that. That's when I discovered like multiplayer on like Halo 3 and Call of Duty. But before that, I was always like, I would just do storylines. I had like no internet connection on, my Xbox or my GameCube or my N64 or PS2 or whatever. So I would just like buy games, play them through, and then take them back. And then again and buy a different game and play it through and take it back. And I would just enjoy the story. So for me, like going into it, I would just say, I would recommend anyone try it. If you just kind of want something a little bit different, if you're looking for a bit more of like an escape, I guess. Because there's so many ways to escape in this game, whether it be like the people, the community, the music, the story. Like there's a lot of different opportunities, so there's a lot more potential hooks for someone. So even someone that's not really like big into gaming or big into MMOs or anything could find it enjoyable, I reckon. So I'd probably I would just say probably what you guys say, like except I would leave out the ARR bad kind of thing. I would just say like go into it with a super open mind and just give it a try, and at least clock like 10 hours, something like that. And if you're not hooked by then, put it down for a couple weeks and go back, and that's maybe when it'll get you.
Yeah, I definitely would say, even if you don't enjoy it mega amounts on your first try, just give it a few months and maybe go back, let it cook a little bit. What I would also say is maybe get involved in some streamers stuff. I know that sounds really cringe to be like, oh, if you want to enjoy a game, watch a streamer, but obviously we're talking to people who are watching streamers. But I would say, when you feel you definitely feel a big community element with that, get involved in the house parties and stuff like that, because they're really cool with the live DJs. The music is sick. My girlfriend was doing some editing, she was bopping to the whole thing. It's really good. It's a really fun time, and it makes the world, it just breaks it up a little bit. Like we said, the story can get very deep and very just reading quest text constantly. Break it up with little things. Go do the optional, absolutely go do the optional dungeons. They are some of that's some of the best content I've been doing so far, is the optional dungeons. They've been really good. Try and get in for a blind midnight level, no echo coils. I think that's really important as well. Try out different elements of the game, not just your preconceived notions of what you think might be good. But also don't pressure yourself. Who cares if you don't like it? Just take the pressure off, relax.
Yeah, don't rush.
Don't rush it, don't force it. Just enjoy it if you enjoy it, and give it a shot. The combat gets really good as well. If you go in with an open mind, I think it all just gets really, really good. So it just takes time. It just takes time. It's an MMO, and it's a slow builder, and it just takes time. Yeah, it's a journey. Yeah, for sure. So I have a question. So I'm getting the question, what do you prefer, Final Fantasy or WoW? So I didn't really want to answer this question because I feel like it can lead to a lot of tribalism, but I feel like I'm finally ready to...
Does he know he's muted? He's doing a bit. Die.
I think fundamentally for me, that's where I'm at. And I'm sorry that I finally had to just go out and say it, but I've said it now. And I think that, you can't, that's out on the internet now. You can't take that away.
I wholeheartedly agree as well. So, if we go down, we go down together.
Yeah. And that's that. What about another question? So, that was a good question. We will watch No Clip. I'm going to watch it on my stream. Russ will probably watch it on his. We're going to do that.
I'm setting aside a whole stream for that.
Yep. Do I wish my girlfriend played FF? She is going to play a little bit. She's going to come on board and be my editor in October, so she's actually going to learn a bit of the game, and she's going to play a little bit. I've thought about trying... She's really big on The Sims, so I've thought about getting her to come and design my house for me, and me go and collect the stuff, and then that might kind of get her interested. Oh, yeah, go on.
Dude. Character creation.
Yeah. Character creation.
There for days. Make all the presets. Could beat my record, honestly.
Yeah, there you go. So I've got some plans there for her to try and check out the game, and she's interested to at least check it out. So we'll see. But she's one of those, she'll play a game for 30 minutes, and then she'll be like, all right, I'm done. I'm done for the week. And I'm just like, what? I'm not even warmed up yet. What about you, Russ? You got any other questions?
Yeah, I can try and link link a couple together.
Sure.
Like, I've got one from Mistaken. Any plans for a duo stream outside of podcasts? And I think, yeah, we plan on doing some raiding and stuff together. And then I had Beth ask, do I plan on doing any raiding? So I mean, for me personally, like, I plan on doing just all the raiding, literally all of it. I want to do every dungeon, all the optional ones that you've been saying, all the raids on as many difficulties as possible. You know, with as many people as possible. Really, I just want to really just throw myself into it, and it might be a long journey. And I might have content for years at my pace. But yeah, I definitely want to try all the raids. Definitely the ultimates. I'm gonna do 105 ultimate kills. I'm gonna get every single appearance, every single job, and it's gonna be. Don't shake your head at me. I'm a gaming genius.
Russ, I've been spending 2 weeks doing coils, bro. You are not clearing every ultimate. I swear to God.
Once, you can just clear it 10 more times. It's fine.
Good luck, Chief.
No cope.
All right, I don't think you'll even get past turn 3. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. So good luck with you.
GM of a mythic raiding guild. Ah, shit. I gave away my GM yesterday. I quit raiding in WoW yesterday.
Hey, congratulations! I'm happy.
I'm free.
Yeah, free. There was a comment as well saying, oh, sorry, did you have anything else you wanted to add there?
Well, yeah, just that, like, I want to do that with you and other streamers and chatters and, like, everyone really that we can. So that was, again, like, expanding on the whole, like, do we plan to stream together, do, like, some collab stuff?
Absolutely.
Podcast, and, like, I think...
I'll come to your coils now, when you do it.
Yeah, exactly. You can come to my coils, and, like, right now I think it's just because, like, we're at different points on the... story and stuff, right? We can't really do too much right now. We're like kind of in our own little parallel like universes and stuff. But when we can do that stuff, yeah, to do stuff together with each other, and I'm sure we'll probably get some other Final Fantasy creators and stuff involved. Because
for sure, we want to bring guests on as well, don't we? Like, there's tons of people I really want to talk to already, and especially as time goes by, there'll be plenty of people we want to talk to as well. But yeah, definitely we'll have some things come in. It's just about like. Yeah, like you say, getting to the right point together. But we will do that. So I think maybe like one more. I'll do one more question, and then we'll try and like wrap it up now because I don't want to go too long. But I don't have a question. I just want to say that I love watching you both play FF. I can't wait for you to play together and do raiding in game. I just want to say some POTD and PvP to see your point of view. Awesome. Appreciate that, Monte Cristo. And then final question. Thank you, dude. I really do appreciate that. Honestly, like everyone hanging out, it's been amazing, the whole thing. But one last question, which I think is a really, really good question. There are a lot of videos about first-time experiences out there that give a lot of false expectations from a streamer's point of view. Example of you doing coils and getting groups in seconds. Have you thought of making a vid without people knowing you are streaming to show a more realistic setting? I am absolutely comfortable doing something like that. I would absolutely love to do that. I do feel like you can't truly know the true extent of like how good a game is if you've got that slight streamer privilege. Like, I am aware of that. I do know that, like, I'm going to have that little bit of a better kind of experience than other people. And, you know, same with Russ and stuff. But I would love to make another character, go through Secret Psy or something, go undercover and see how easily I can put that kind of stuff together. Because I think that you need to get multiple perspectives of how the game operates. So I'm fully aware of that. And I don't think that, like... You know, I don't think differently. I would like to do that and put something together. But yeah, what about you, Russ?
It's a tricky one. Like, I totally get the sentiment of that, and like, I definitely think that, you know, we could never turn a blind eye to like the way that we've experienced the game and we play the game is like very much different to your average player. But then again, there are comments that say like random passers-by, like from people that aren't streamers. It's like, oh yeah, random passers-by came and helped me do this. Stayed with me for hours, helping me with this, that, and the other, giving me some skill, and you know, telling them about the game and stuff. So I definitely think that like the community in general just shines through there. But I don't know regarding like the whole secret side thing, and it's kind of similar to like doing Zero to Keystone Hero in WoW, right? Like you kind of just make a character, you unlink all of your acolytes, and honestly, I've tried doing that a couple of times, and it's been pretty it's been like a pretty hellish experience, like doing that, and in a way, I'm like, if I can play the game one way, which is more fun to me, then I probably just want to spend my time doing more fun things. But like, it would be nice to do stuff off stream and see how much different it is. Maybe not to the extent that I would make a secret character and stuff like that. I think that might be a bit too much of a time investment for me personally. But like, So then if I took my main character and try and did something off stream, you know, someone might recognize my name and stuff like that, right? But it would be to a lesser extent, I think, than like, hello, here I am, I'm on stream, and like people crowding towards like, can I join your group? Can I join your group? It's like when I've got to a dungeon, I can queue in by myself, but I take that as an opportunity to like involve my chat and my community whenever I can. Like I always
for sure.
With them. However, I did do duty roulette yesterday and just did it with some complete randoms, so I did have like that single player experience there, where someone told me to turn on my tank stance.
Yeah.
I had the trial, and then immediately they were like, "Hi guys, hi team," and then they were like, halfway through the boss, they were like, "Yo, tank stance, bro." I was like, "Ah." So I did have that like genuine like interaction with just random people who had no idea who I was and stuff, right? So I think there's like ways that you can do it. Like you could just queue into some random person's like party finder thing, right? And you are doing it like blind in that sense, where you're not being boosted or whatever. I don't know if I would personally go to the extent where I'd make a secret character, because like you'd have to level it all the way up and everything. Maybe like a super long-term thing, like long con thing, where I've completely exhausted everything in the entire game, right? But I don't see it happening soon, at least for me.
I think as well for me, like, so and last like real point here, and then chat, if you want to come do an adventure play competition, we can go inside and do that. I don't know, Russ, if you want to hang around and do that, but we'll kind of finish the podcast thing here. But I did want to say, for me, even though, yes, I'm getting a better, like, experience because I'm a streamer, I'm also paying back by the fact that there's so many Final Fantasy people who've joined my, like, Discord and community now, and now they're grouping up amongst themselves, like CC Lemon and some of my friends, like, they're going to do, UCOB, which is, like, Ultimate Coils. They're going to do that Saturday, which is really nice. Like, that's awesome, and so I'm kind of paying that back with, like, yeah, okay, people in game are not, like, I'm getting a different experience, but people, because of me, are now going to join together, and like my friends have been waiting, like CC Lemon's been waiting to do some stuff like that for years, and now he's going to get those sorts of opportunities, and people in my community can help each other, and like that's just really nice. You know, you're all going into it with the same like goal in mind, and you're going into it with like friendship in mind, like you're not just going to be flaming each other. So I think, yeah, like excellent. That's kind of my way of like paying it back, you know.
You're like hosting like your Discord being like the hub for people to make friends. Like, and I've had that as well. Like my Discord's been completely revived from a pretty dead state, and then like everyone's coming in, everyone has something in common. They like Final Fantasy, and so they're playing together, you know, in their own time. They're joining like voice channels together. They're playing other games together. There's been people playing League of Legends and stuff together as well, and like Apex and stuff like that. So like everyone's expanding their like, you know, social circle like outside of the game as well, and you know they have their friends maybe from before I started streaming, but now they have an extra branch as well. So that's definitely a nice little sentiment, I think. We have like like you said, like give back.
Amazing. Right, I think that is where we will conclude the podcast episode. Thank you all so much for watching episode 1 of Between Two Sprouts. I was Psy.
How long was that?
Psybear_TV, and we have Justruss, of course. We're going to be the mainstays every 2 weeks is when we want to do this. We'll